All right, friends, I'm going to go ahead and share our door for this morning. All right. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely, as always, to see your faces, to be with you, just to get the chance to be together and see each other and offer greetings. Always beautiful. We'll begin this morning words of gratitude. Always good to have an attitude of gratitude. Helps frame the day, helps start Shabbat right. Moda ani lefanecha. Moda ani lefanecha. For those of us who are wearing a talit this morning, I'll invite you to join together in our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit. Amen. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. I used to, I've said it many mornings that we're gathered together. How good are your tents? But this prayer I've started to look at in a whole new context, maybe so many of us have in the scope of the last year and a half. And now, with us moving a little bit more to some multi-access services, to getting back in our sanctuary, also being able to be on Zoom, we are in so many different holy spaces, and to feel the energy in those different spaces, to have the experience of coming together in so many new ways and new formations of being in our dwelling places, our worship spaces. They're all good wherever we are. You to just go ahead, think about the space that you're in this morning, identify what is one good thing about the space you're in. Is there a feeling? Is it cool? Do you have the breeze coming in from the window? Do you see light? Do you feel a comfortable surface? Whatever it is, what is good for you? Your space, is there anything that you can do to make your space a little bit better, to make it more holy? Any way that you can sit, maybe planting your feet on the ground, maybe sitting up a little straighter, maybe taking a deeper breath, something to just make your space, your surroundings feel even better. We'll sing one more time. invite you to take another deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Let those feelings of Shabbat settle in. Continue moving from our surroundings, from our space around us, to our own bodies. I want to invite you to just check in with your body this morning. Maybe move around. If there's any area of your body that needs a little bit more attention, a little bit more love, you can bring that attention to those places in your body. And then we know that however we show up this morning in our bodies, if they're not working as well as we want to, if they're working really well and we're grateful about that, however we showed up, our bodies are working in the best way possible that they can for this moment to be present. And so we read together this prayer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware, we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. We move from our physical bodies to what they contain, our spirits on Shabbat. We're told that this is a celebration of creation, the day that the divine rested. And the last thing that happened before that holy rest was that God breathed life, breathed our souls into us. Elohim Shama Senatari Sehorahi. Elohim Shama Senatari Sehorahi. Elohim Shama Senatari Once we become rooted in our surroundings, our physical body, our spiritual self, we are ready to offer blessings of hallel, of praise, of gratitude. We can use whatever instruments are in our repertoire. If you have your own instruments that you want to bring in, beautiful. If you have, who knows, a cup of coffee with some ice that you want to turn into a shaker, whatever instrument you might want to take advantage of, you can bring that into our space. And most importantly, we each have the holiest of instruments, our own selves, our own neshama, our souls, our living breath that gives us the ability to praise. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 Our voices and our spirits are warmed up, and so I invite us to rise in body or in spirit for our Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Our Shema, keeping that connection with our breath, I want to invite you to take each word of our Shema as a breath, taking as long as you need with each word, each person setting their own pace, and we'll join together for the second line. Shema. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. We can be seated. Continuing on our V'ahavta, a special note that V'ahavta comes out of this week's Torah portion, the Et Hanan, which we'll be reading from a little bit later, and also super relevant because this is the Shabbat before Tu B'Av, our Jewish holiday of love. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So we'll chant together our V'ahavta, and I want you to just think about what is the love that you experience in your own life, and what is love that you have to share with others. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol mildecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לשותפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם Amen. Our Micha Mocha prayer, a prayer all about freedom. I want to invite you to think, and if you feel comfortable, to type and share in our chat. What is a way that you are feeling free or experiencing freedom lately? You can take that question, you can interpret it however you want. And feel free to just type in answers as we go. One more time, try to let yourself feel free in your body and free in your breath. Continue with our Amidah. You rise in body or in spirit. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוהר חסי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו יהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, ותורת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הקל, מכלכל חיים וחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומה לך, מלך מביט ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא אלוקינו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing some things that bring freedom. Mary Lou, might you be willing to unmute and just share with us what you typed in the chat, because not everyone is able to see our chat?
Oh, certainly. It's the freedom to connect with my ancestors, especially when I'm in the garden and working around the property. Work, I mean a labor of love for everything that's here. I really feel the spirits of my this is on the matrilineal line. My mother's father and grandfather, my grandfather and great grandfather, I come from a long line of ranchers and growers, and they were the ones to nurture and grow food so we could eat and feed our bellies. And they're with me in spirit with the atmosphere and nature all around us in the nurturing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're certainly nourished by this community, by everyone's voices, and also we're just simply nourished by Shabbat. Shabbat is a day where we find joy, where we find our own nourishment spiritually, and, you know, some of that stuff we grow, we like to eat on Shabbat. And so for all the things that bring us joy, Yismachu. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai, our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. So for our Modim prayer, our prayer of gratitude, I want to invite folks to share. This is a great chance for our folks who are on Zoom to be able, if you want, to unmute so that we can all share in your joy and your voices. So if you have something that you want to share gratitude for this morning, I invite you to please unmute. Patricia, we'll start with you.
Oh, hi, Shabbat Shalom. Long time no hear from you, Rabbi Pinsky. How are you? Yes, I'm happy to be here and for another Shabbat because I haven't been here for a few weeks, but I'm doing okay, and I'm just glad everything is somewhat coming to normal, but not fully yet.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy to see everybody here.
Great. It's
All
great
right,
to hear your
thank
voice.
you.
And we're happy to have you with us and be together. Thanks, Patricia. Anyone else? Something you're feeling grateful for?
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying anybody else if you want to share.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Great.
Okay.
All good. Prima.
I always have something to say. I'm just grateful for everybody that I see, and Patricia Good, and Esther, and Doreen, and everybody. And just, it's so great to be with everybody, especially since I found out it was Shabbos Nakamu, and it's something about Shabbos Nakamu, and just nice to see everybody and talk to everybody.
Beautiful.
And keep up the good work, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Prima. I am grateful for the gorgeous light that is shining in through the window. It was beautiful outside earlier this morning, and I'm excited to experience hopefully some good weather after this Shabbat. Anything else folks want to share? It can be tiny, it can be huge, whatever you're feeling grateful for. If you are watching on YouTube and you want to just declare something that you are expressing gratitude for, I invite you to just shout it out loud. We can all do that just on the count of 3. Come up with anything that you want to say thank you for. 1, 2, 3. Sunshine, all of these other blessings, for all of our blessings. We are surely, surely grateful. And so I want to invite us to take a moment to think about the blessings in our lives, or the blessings that we are yearning for just a few moments of our own silent prayer. So my friends, we have come to that portion of our morning where we get to celebrate our Torah. And so I'm going to pull up our Torah blessings and just to root us. Freeman mentioned it is Shabbat Nachamu. So every Shabbat is special and distinguished in its own way, of course. And sometimes we have particularly special Shabbatot. So this week, Shabbat Nachamu, or Shabbat of consolation. And we'll go into that a little bit more. But for now, I want to invite, as we move towards our Aliyah, if there is anyone who feels like you need a little bit of consolation, that we could direct some comforting energy towards you. You don't have to share what's going on, but just anyone self-selecting who feels like you could just use a little bit more comfort, I would invite you to join for leading our Aliyot this morning. So if there is anyone who just would like a little bit of comfort, could use a little bit, I would invite you to unmute. Is everybody very comforted? That's a beautiful thing. So if you don't feel like unmuting, we'll just kind of do this communally, because I believe we could all use a little bit of comfort sometimes. And so I'll invite those who are able to rise as we join in our blessings for reading the Torah. Baruch es Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Folks can be seated. So this morning, we are reading from Parshat Ve'et Chanan, the third Torah portion the second Torah portion in the book of Deuteronomy. So we are on the precipice of the promised land. The people have been wandering through the wilderness, and now Moses begins addressing the people. So I'm gonna make this a bit smaller so that folks can follow with English as well. Amen. Et hadivarim ha'ele daber Adonai el kol kahalchem bechar mitoch ha'esh ha'anan v'ha'arafel kol gadol v'lo yasaf v'yichtavem al shnei luchot avanim v'yitnem elai v'yehi kisham achem et hakol mitoch hachoshet v'hahar bo'er ba'esh v'tikravun elai kol rashi shivtehem v'ziknehem v'tomru hein her'anu Adonai Eloheinu et kivodo ve'et gadlo ve'et kolo sham'anu mitoch ha'esh hayom hazeh ra'inu ki yidaber Elohim et ha'adam v'chai ve'anachnu lishmoa et ve'ata lama namut ki tochlenu ha'esh hagdola hazot im yosefim Kol Adonai Eloheinu od v'matnu ki mi kol basar asher shamar kol Elohim chayim medaber mitoch ha'esh kemonu vayechi ותדבר אלינו את כל אשר קרב אתה ושמעה את כל אשר יאמר אדוני אלוהינו ועת ידבר אדוני אלוהינו אליך ושמענו ועשינו. So, the midst of this Torah portion, we'll go ahead and look at the English of what we just read. Adonai spoke these words, those and no more, to your whole congregation at the mountain, with a mighty voice out of the fire and dense clouds. God inscribed them on 2 tablets of stone, which God gave to me. When you heard the voice out of the darkness, while the mountains were ablaze with fire, you came up to me, all your tribal heads and elders, and said, the Lord our God has just shown us his majestic presence, and we have heard his voice out of the fire. We have seen this day that man may live, though God has spoken to him. Let us not die then, for this fearsome fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any longer, we shall die. For what mortal ever heard the voice of the living God speak out of the fire as we did and lived? You go closer and hear all that the Lord our God says, and then you tell us everything that the Lord our God tells you, and we will willingly do it. So friends, this Torah portion, again, just to kind of root us in where we are. So Moses is addressing the Israelites community in the wilderness. All of Deuteronomy is a repetition of stories that we've already heard about the wanderings in the wilderness, about receiving the commandments, some retelling of the book of Exodus and Numbers. And here we have this fantastical scene. It's showing us, this is talking about the moment of revelation. All right, God is revealing God's Torah to the people. And we actually get told in this scene that the people are able to hear God's voice and see God's presence in the fire. And this is so overwhelming. The people say to Moses, we don't know that we're ready for this. I mean, who could hear God's voice and live? And so Moses, please be our emissary. And you can talk, also in this Torah portion, this names how Moses talks panim al panim, face to face with the divine. Now, I don't know if we noticed, but I read a little bit more verses than maybe kind of a basic 4-verse aliyah. And this is because we start in a very particular spot with this section, and it could end with the people just saying, if we hear God, surely we're going to die. But there is a very important concept, my friends, that the rabbis came up with anytime we read Torah or text. We are not supposed to end on a sad or problematic note. To end a Torah reading with, okay, we're just going to hear God and maybe it's too much and we're going to die. No, this is not acceptable at all. We have to come to what the rabbis call a nechemsa, all right? A point of consolation. We must end our reading in comfort. Yes, we have troubling content in Torah, of course, because it deals with the whole scope of life, and life is not always easy. There's hardships. It's so important that Torah tells us about it, those hardships, because we relate to the humanity of people experiencing struggle. And while we recognize that struggle, we're never supposed to end on a negative. And I think this lesson ties in. I mentioned I would speak more about Shabbat Nachamu. So this Shabbat gets its name not from our Torah portions at Hanan, but actually from our special Haftarah portion that will always fall in this specific date range. It will always come the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, after the holiday all about the destruction of the temple and communal mourning. We have a Shabbat of comfort and consolation. And this Shabbat is actually one of the first 7 Shabbatot that are called the 7 Shabbatot of consolation, of comfort, which lead us up to Rosh Hashanah. So yes, we have had kind of a hard time in our Jewish communal life with Tisha B'Av, but we are moving slowly in these next weeks, these next almost 2 months until Rosh Hashanah, until our new year. We're supposed to every week focus on something a little bit good, a little bit comforting. And I think that, Judaism, the religion it brings about a lot of, I would say, human wisdom and I think advancements in terms of psychology and sociology and just understanding how people operate. How advanced is that already in our prophetic times, we had our early rabbis saying that we always need some comfort. This is one of our most important values. So friends, our Parsha this week, last night I talked a little bit more about Shabbat Nachamu and comfort and consolation. And now I want to focus on another theme that we get in our Parsha this morning. So I mentioned that this is the Parsha where we get text from our Via Hafta, one of our central prayers all about love. All right, so in our liturgy, we have what I very officially call a liturgical love sandwich. Anytime surrounding our Shema, we have either Ahava Rabbah in the mornings or Ahavat Olam, are prayers that talk about how great and expansive the divine's love for us, for humanity is. We move towards Shema. Who is the divine? Well, God is one. And then we move into our Via Hafta. Well, God loves us. We identify who God is. And now we show a love for God. So this Shabbat, not only is it Shabbat Nachamu, it's also the Shabbat before Tu B'Av, our Jewish holiday celebrating love. Now there are a lot of kind of cultural holidays across different communities, across different countries about love. But Tu B'Av actually goes back to antiquity, and people would be invited to self-identify. Those folks who were single would be kind of invited to identify themselves and to gather in the square in Jerusalem so that people who wanted to, who opted in, might be able to put themselves out there and open up to love, to finding connections with other human beings. Now, I think we can expand this. It's not just about finding a partner in a relationship, but really this invitation of Tu B'Av in its essence invites us to open ourselves up, to actually stand up and reveal when we are in need of connection. Human connection, we cannot say enough about it in this last year and a half. We are, of course, in a time where we're being able to see more people in person, to embrace, right? We have these beautiful technological tools that have allowed us to connect. But this holiday, if we went to Israel on Tu B'Av, you might see some heart decorations, kind of similar to what you might see for Valentine's Day, right? In America, folks will give each other flowers. We have that romantic vibe. But I think if we go back to the essence of the holiday, that there really was this moment that the community was invited to come out of their shells and say, hey, I need connection. And it was a communal event just because, again, we understand that it can be hard to come out of our shells, right? But making it an experience where everyone was invited to do so and be supported, by the people surrounding. We just need this love. So I want to invite folks to just think about what is a source of love in your life? And it doesn't have to be a person. If you have a person in your life you love, what a beautiful blessing. It doesn't have to be a partner. If there is a friend, if there are family members, you can find love from anything. I'm curious. I want to open it up. You can unmute or you can share in the chat. Just what is a source in your life where you find and experience love, if you want to share? Doreen, yeah.
Well, I know you said it doesn't have to be a person, so I just have to give my husband a lot of credit, because he's not only my husband, he's my soulmate that I never thought I was going to find. But aside from my husband, nature, I love nature. I love the ocean, a sunset, a sunrise. It brings me such great joy, and I love it. So I wanted to share that.
Thanks, Doreen. Anyone else, sources of love in your own life? Yeah, Freema.
Woo. Okay. I have people that I am very fortunate about, of course, my son and now his fiance, and so many people. And like before we connected, I connected more with my nieces and everything. But I just love, like, when I take my little walks and I walk up and down the block, there's these big and I don't know the name of it. It's big flowers like this, and they're in every color, and they're beautiful. They're big. I don't know the name of it. I've seen it in purple and pink and red, and just, I love flowers. And just to look in people's gardens, I don't pick anything, but just as I'm walking up and down the blocks and just looking and seeing the flowers and just hearing the birds in the morning, and when it's nice outside, and just being able to just walk around and just enjoy all of these things around me I think I'm very lucky that I'm able to walk and able to do all these things.
Beautiful. So there's an idea of self-love. I actually have a dear friend of mine who is a leader in the Jewish world, who has also been studying to become a self-love coach, cultivating this practice of how do we really love ourselves and show love to ourselves. And maybe that's seeing nature. Maybe it's just literally, I want to invite you to try, just wrap your arms around yourselves and give yourself a hug. We haven't had a lot of human contact. And so sometimes just a reminder, a physical reminder that we're held can be a super powerful tool. Patricia.
I love traveling. I've been watching on YouTube a lot lately about some of those little small, tiny homes, RVs. I love RVs, but most of all, I love yachts. I'm a yacht fan, and I watch them a lot on Facebook. I watch different homes, at various places. Yeah, I like things like that. Dreamliners. That's the thing I like to watch.
Thanks, Patricia.
I said if I had money, I would definitely buy all of them. But that's, you only can dream of those things. But you just never know. Maybe one day, who knows?
Amazing. So what I want us to do is to really think about the connection of this idea of a nechemsa, of something that brings us consolation. And I want to invite folks to think about ways that you experience love in your own life, and really encourage starting from a place of self-love. So many things happen in our world that are overwhelming, that separate us. We have so many things that separate us from the community: physical barriers, masks, not being able to see each other's faces, right? Just that in and of itself is an act of love for our community. But what is it to show ourselves love, to be able to start from a place of comforting ourselves. Maybe it's doing something kind, having a nourishing, some kind of nourishing food on Shabbos. Maybe it's giving yourself a hug. Maybe, whatever it is, a way to find love for yourself. And this is a radical idea. It's so simple, right? To love it's on one hand, one of the most basic human concepts, right? Love. It's there. It's within us. And it can be hard. Sometimes our own voices, we're our toughest critics, right? And so just like the Israelites, they're in the community, in the desert. They have been in the wilderness. They have been wandering aimlessly. Think about all of the book of Numbers. My God, the hardships, the complaining. They didn't like their food. They were sick of it. They didn't like the leadership. It was hot. It was uncomfortable. They weren't in the places that they were used to. Exactly in the times of wilderness is when we can cultivate that comfort. It's in the darkest times that we need that nechemta, we need that consolation. And so our Torah portion this week teaches, well, hey, the Israelites, they were scared to connect to the divine, right? Imagine we're at Mount Sinai. One of the Midrashim says that during Revelation, all of the people are gathered at the base of Mount Sinai. And when God is presenting Torah, God actually lifts up the physical mountain and it's hovering above all of the Israelites' heads. All right, so we have thousands of people. There's just a mountain above you. And God says, here are my commandments. Do you accept them? And then the people, as was repeated in this Torah portion, say, we hear it and we'll do it. All right, but the Midrashim put up this moment of kind of utter terror, like, oh my gosh, there's a mountain above us. Of course we're going to agree. But more importantly, in this week's Torah portion, the Israelites say, yes, we have this fear. Well, it's a big thing to have God in front of you. And so what do? They reach out to Moses, their leader, and they say, you know what? This is a little overwhelming for me. I'm scared of this, but that doesn't mean I'm going to cut myself off. Please, you go and help be an intermediary. We always have the ability to reach out to others, no matter who they are in relationship to us. And if we kind of give ourselves that permission, a little love, to connect more, to show love to other people, to reach out, we can always find the comfort that we need. All of the tools that we need in our world are present. They might not seem accessible, but what Torah teaches, the lessons from thousands of years to now, is that we always have the ability to get what we need. It might not look how we thought, it might not feel how we thought. We might still be in that wilderness. We might be complaining, and that's okay. But eventually, we're going to reach the promised land. Eventually, no matter how tough things get, Judaism reminds us that in the deepest, darkest places, we always find that nechemta, we always find that consolation. And we, friends, Tu B'Av teaches that we have the power and the invitation to step out of our shells and to ask for exactly what we need. So I hope that this Shabbat, you can find something that fills you with a sense of love, something that fills you with a sense of comfort and moving forward. We have a lot of time before our high holidays. My goodness, they're approaching. The fact that we're already in Shabbat Nachamu, which is the 7 weeks, it's like we have our countdown, right? But we are also kind of counting up. We're looking forward to being able to get back in our sanctuary for High Holy Days, having our multi-access services that everyone can join, and things are moving forward. So my friends, I want to invite us to just put a little closing on our Torah section, we'll go ahead and chant our blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emes v'chayei olam natav b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Amen. So at this time, while we think about the holy words of our Torah, while we think about comfort and love, we take a moment to think about those in our community in need of healing, healing of mind, of body, of spirit. And so I'll read our communal Mishaberach list, and if there's anybody else, I'll give a chance for folks to unmute or type names of anyone they're sending healing energy to this week. So right now we are thinking of those in our community: Jesse Sakharoff, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Allison Plummer, Patty Ann Cubero, Ellen Belofsky, Rabbi Daryl Lerner, Susan Sisler, Alan Freemer, George Landberg, Susan Balecki, Dana Haitkin Nelson, Arlene Rosenthal, Michael Luck, Randall Rose, Barbara Weiner, Andy Glansman, Amy Juskowitz Soonfeller, Ira and Deanna Ross, Roz Borenstein, Dolores Weinberger, Ingrid Grosso, Audrey Cohen, Eddie DeAngelis, Ira Goldman, Vicky Lightmaker, Sarah Brooks Kamen, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Jeff Abel, Roz Solomon, Linda Kushner Silverman, Monica Beyer, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Judge Milton Flatt, Thea Platt Glasser, Sandra and Jay Pastor, Mitchell Pastor, Laura Stanley, Roberta Hyrus, Elaine Sarfati, Richard Zagam, David Mouser, Hannah Paynes, Stuart Armstrong, Margot Zittin, Cindy Retagliata, Gary Papierman, Elliot Strucker, Ted and Albert Galernter, pardon me, Rosa Gordon, Sarah Braver, Claire Semmel, James Scarpula, and Norman Steinberg. Also thinking about Joellen Fox, Alana Aram, Chanel Camabach, Jimmy Carter, Abraham Khaleesi, Joanna Marie, Teresa O'Sullivan, Louisa Astute, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Islands, and women in Jamaica, Guyana, Israel, India, and Barbados, Doreen.
Lenore and Larry Arenos, Sylvia Tishkovitz, Ida Sanchez, Carmen Dworkin, Nicole Grogan. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Lou.
Ron Cricky, Laura Cricky, Zizi Potsdam, Brenda McVasey, Brenda Katroser, Eve Heyman, Art Torres, and the family of Art Torres. Thank you.
Prima.
Shirley Amani, Kathy's brother Gabby, Stephen Schneier, Kimberly Pearson, Lucy Palazzolo, Carrie Beyonce, Martin Bennett, Reva and David Cohen, and Phyllis O'Neill. Thank you.
And then in the chat also, Perry and Rita Kravitz, Delphine Wolf, Elite and Pat. That might be a typo, Mona. It says coleslaw. If you want to unmute and chime in with that name, Bill McShane and Harvey Barkin.
Yeah, it was Pat and Alita Colella.
Thank you so much. All right, anyone else have names for us? So we'll continue. Misha Berak, may the source of strength who bless our ancestors bring strength and healing to all of those in need of healing. Baby, us say Amen. And let us say Amen.
All right.
All right. I'll invite those who are able to rise, rising in body or spirit, for Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, L'Ateit Gedolah Yosef Reshit, Shehu Notei Shamayim V'Yosed Aretz, U'Moshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Yima'al, U'Shri Nafzo B'Kolchei Merumim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר וחי אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. Can be seated. And at this time, we turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us, loved ones whom we've lost at this time in seasons past, whose yahrzeits we are remembering. Share our yahrzeit list here. Those who we have lost in recent days, in the last 30 days, a period of Shloshim, in the last week, a period of Shiva. We are lovingly thinking of those we've recently lost: Suzanne Leknos, Shirley Coxer, Lillian Ridley, Thomas Marinin, Meg Goldate, Marguerite Romeo, John Young, Isadora Frost, Fred Perlman, Bob Ira Kleinberg, Dorothea Schuring, Peter Brandenberger, Lloyd Ricketts, Ellie Heimlich, Sherry Burns, Terry Singer, Henry Kuhn, Lily Zimmett, Bob Perlman, Ira Berkowitz, Bayumi Mohammed, Amy Zisovic, Mary Holland, Dorothy Webster, Robert Allen Santos Sr., Robert Bonenfant, Barry Strumpf, Judy Epstein, Dorothy Mason, Judy Panzer, Barry Wine, Charlotte Brown, David Schachter, Douglas Maines, Devorah Lewis, Jahia Sapir, Jane Evans, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Manny Pastor, Ruth Rubin, Harris Reese, Emerson Berger, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Caroline McNamara, Marion McGivney, Ronnie Turek, Jay Roseman, Michaela Schaefer, Helen Ziegerman Schwimmer. We also acknowledge these yahrzeits: Leon Kosman, father-in-law of Deborah Kosman; Michael Kriegler, father of Emma Rose Tuttleman; Albert Levinson, grandfather of Jeffrey Levinson; Brittany Caudry, sister-in-law of Lauren Levinson; Michaela Schaefer, wife of Henry Schaefer; and Morris Silverman, father of Sam Silverman. If there's anybody else who would like to share names, I would invite you to unmute or to share in the chat. Any additional names? Prima.
Okay, we got it, Debbie.
Good. Anna Silverman.
I have Jack Mandel, Ellie Heimlich, Betty Rubel. Thank you.
I'll add that Lila Lane Eisner. We join together words of Kaddish Yatom, our mourner Kaddish. I'll invite you to rise if that is your custom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabba, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich nosutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'yizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabban v'rach le'alam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'grusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da miran v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Be seated. Is there any representative from our congregation who wants to share announcements, or I can do that? All right, so my friends, we have our continuing Torah study on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. A link is always sent out that morning or the night before. Honey from the Heart fundraiser is just about wrapping up, so I believe if you want some honey in time for Rosh Hashanah, go ahead, get those orders in to bring some sweetness. Any other community notice that we should put out? Any other announcements that folks have on their mind? Yeah, Freema.
It doesn't want me to unmute. I know there's a special congregational meeting on Tuesday nights.
Thank you, Freema. All right, so we are having a special congregational meeting on Tuesday night, and for this meeting, we need a quorum. So we need folks to join. So please, if you are able, log on. That email the information has been sent out by email. Thank you so much, Freema. Beautiful. So we'll close with these words. They might be familiar to some, new to others. Our Hebrew from Isaiah 40, 1-3. Nachamu, nachamu ami yomar Elohechem. Comfort, oh comfort my people, says our God. Nachamu. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us. struggle with this world. Comfort us as we struggle with this world. Ami, Yomar, Elohim, Ami, Yomar, Ami, Elohim. May we all find comfort, peace, and the blessings in this Shabbat. May we take comfort in one another, in the joy and blessing of being together